Today, I will be focusing on listening and speaking in academic and non-academic settings for second graders in the intermediate level. For the listening domain for second graders in the intermediate level, according to ELPS, intermediate English language learners have the ability to understand simple, high-frequency spoken English used in routine academic and social settings. For the speaking domain for second graders in the intermediate level, according to ELPS, intermediate English language learners have the ability to speak in a simple manner using English commonly heard in routine academic and social settings. Now we are going to look at the different samples describing what listening and speaking may look like in an academic and non-academic settings. Under the listening domain in an academic setting, an example would be in the classroom when the teacher asks the students to switch stations, the English language learner student is able to switch to the next station or table. He then knows what he needs to do next. Now, according to ELPS, students that are actually in this level of domain usually understand simple or routine directions. An example under the listening domain in a non-academic setting would be when students are out in recess, the English language learner student is able to play with others as they understand the simple play terms such as tag or hide. According to ELPS, students under this level often identify and distinguish keywords and phrases necessary to understand the general meaning during social and basic interactions. Under the speaking domain in the intermediate level in an academic setting, an example would be like in a small group discussion, the English language learner student shares their ideas about what they think happens in the butterfly life cycle, using the most simplest form of vocabulary for everyone to understand. According to ELPS, students under the intermediate level in the speaking domain are able to express simple, original messages. They speak using sentences and they participate in short conversations and classroom interactions. An example under non-academic setting in a speaking domain may be like in recess, the English language learner student may play tag with his other classmates and the student will say to his classmate, tag or I tag you. According to ELPS, students under the intermediate level in the speaking domain speak simply using basic vocabulary needed in everyday social interactions and routine academic contexts. Now we're going to focus on the kind of linguistic accommodation that is most suitable for my student and why I think this is the best accommodation for this type of student. Under the listening domain, if the student is struggling with unfamiliar words or certain topics that they hear in class, I will provide them with as much visuals as possible, such as picture words. Now, under speaking domain, if the student is struggling with pronouncing unfamiliar words, I will provide them with more proper practice. And I think this is the best accommodation for this type of student because visuals will help them remember unfamiliar words, and proper practice will make sure that they understand certain vocabularies so that they wouldn't be confused when we move on to the next lesson or the next topic in class. An English language learner must be supported in ways to help them achieve the next level of English proficiency. One is to practice English with the student. A way to do this is to provide your students, especially English language learners, with opportunities such as different activities to work on to better their English, whether it is through speaking or listening or both. Another way to support your English language learner is to informally assess them for correct use of language structures and academic vocabulary. Through this informal assessment, the teacher is able to offer guidance to support the student's language development. Now I'm going to compare and contrast my English language learner student in the intermediate level with an English language learner who exhibits a higher level proficiency, which is in the advanced level. First, I'm going to focus on the listening domain, and under the intermediate level, a student understands simple or routine directions, conversations, and discussions. They only understand familiar topics. When it is unfamiliar, student needs more extensive linguistic supports and adaptations. They only identify and distinguish keywords during social interactions. A student under the advanced level may understand longer and elaborated directions, conversations, and discussions. They understand both familiar and unfamiliar topics. They sometimes need processing time and visual support. They also understand main points, important details, and some implicit information during social interactions. For the speaking domain, a student under the intermediate level is able to express simple, original messages. They participate in short conversations and classroom interactions. They also use basic vocabulary needed in social interactions, and they rarely have vocabulary to speak in detail. A student in advanced level is able to participate in most conversations. They discuss familiar academic topics using content based terms. They have a grasp of basic grammar features, including a basic ability to narrate and describe in present, past, and future. The speaking part of the intermediate level descriptors had the most impact on my understanding because I didn't think an English language learner in this level could understand and is able to speak enough English at the least. Speaking had more bullet points than listening, and this made me understand the difference between the two a lot better. Along with the different levels of descriptors, I now know more about the different English language learners with different levels of understanding that I may encounter in my future classroom. And these are the references that I formatted in APA format, and I got most of them that was shared in the folder under week 3.